or all three at once.
Welcome to Tavern Talk, a spoiler-filled talk show based on the epic fantasy series The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. My name is Ryan, and joining me today is Jansen Lashley Haynes, as always, and Brother Dan is not going to make it today, sadly, but it is an important show. Brandon Sanderson spilled the beans, and we are here to react. Thank you, humans in all the spectrums, for watching, and please enjoy the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, here we are, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey.
What a day, what a day, what a day. I think this might be one of the most important days in the fandom in a very long time.
It changes things completely.
Headcanons are exploding all over the internet, all over the world, and we are here to react to it. That's right, Brandon Sanderson did a 10-year anniversary interview, and he has been withholding stuff from us. That dastardly man. But yeah, we now know some things, and let's get into it. I do want to start off by talking about kind of like what this moment means though for us. Like, I still remember following Brandon Sanderson's website as he was giving those kind of countdown clocks to when things are going to be published. He had like some sort of pie chart or percentages. I don't remember exactly how he was doing it, but he was definitely letting everyone know what chapters he was on, how much time he had going. And then it was published, and then we got to read to the very end. I want to actually talk to you guys before we get into the deets. I want to get your guys' experience of finishing the story, what it was like for you. Right. I want to take me back to that moment.
It was definitely more than 20 years coming. That's for sure. Because I started reading the series in spring, summer of 91. So I'd been reading for a really long time, and my whole internet experience was focused on Wheel of Time forums when I first started being online, and then chats and all kinds of, but yeah, I did a reread leading up to the last book, and it was probably the most amazing experience I've ever had reading. You know, it was that beginning to end, starting with New Spring and just plowing through literally nonstop, because I got the last book when I was finishing the book before I finished the one before it. But I don't know, it was good. It made me happy to finally have that there in my hands, to finally see the end of the Wheel of Time, or the finish of that book. It was like, yeah.
For me, it was a catharsis. I remember finishing the book. I closed the book, and I literally had tears running down my face. My wife's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No."
I'm not.
No.
Yeah.
This huge chunk of my life that had taken up, years and years and years, and now it was over. And so part of me was in mourning, while the other part was rejoicing. So it's kind of a weird place.
I can relate a lot to what Bill said, because every time a new book came out, with anticipation, I read every other book before it, every single time. And for me, I started noticing that I would only want to read one page because I wanted to savor every bit of it. I didn't want it to end. For me, and I've heard other people talk about this series of books this way, a lot of the characters seemed like some of my own friends. It was just, they were close. They felt close, their mannerisms, the things that they would do, all those things. And for me to get it, like, I'll give a perfect example. In A Memory of Light, when we started reading it, and Telmanis, by the way, red spoiler alert, almost died. I felt it. When Telmanis fell and crashed, it hit me in the heart. I was like, they cannot kill this guy. I was like, no. Like, it hurt when it hurt. And it's just
imagine that being mixed with a bridal wreath.
Yes.
It wouldn't have worked as well, right?
That's so funny. Yeah, nah, good
It
point.
would
Good
not
point.
have worked.
Yeah,
That hurt with Telmanes, but
Yeah.
what was the other friend of Matt's, Nelson or something like that?
Nelson?
Who got his throat ripped out by
Yeah.
that. I felt like that when he had his throat ripped out by the golem. I was just like, what? Because I was enjoying the character as a character, and just like,
I was too.
oh damn.
Yeah, when I read The Last Battle, it was just a freaking cry fest. Like my book was wet back when I read books. It was that sense of loss that you talk about, Bill. I'm relating hard to that. I felt that. I felt like I had nothing to look forward to because every time I knew that when I finished a book, like it might be 2 years, but there's another one coming, and I wanted to stay in that world like forever.
Oh my god! And then Land's speech, I might be a king without a kingdom, but I'm still a king. I mean, he's just like, man.
Or I did it for all of them. Rand's. Oh god damn it!
It wasn't about me. It's about all of them.
So that kind of can bring us to what Brandon Sanderson gave us, and I feel grateful to him for doing this for us.
Yeah.
We got insights into the whole process of taking over a series, how Harriet handled him as a young writer and mentored him. I felt like almost a dramatic story that was being presented to us of meetings where everyone is coming together to literally spitball ideas. Like
it was like a masterclass on how to do something. It was awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, and so taking all that into account, like I've met Alan, I've met Maria, to know, and they've never been able to say these things. Like they don't say this. Like it wasn't even. We learned that it wasn't even Brandon Sanderson's idea to kill Egwene.
Right.
What do you think of that? What do you think of like that revelation? Just the fact that it was a group decision and
I think it was right.
Choice they made, I thought it was perfect.
Yeah.
Because of the stakes that each character had, and I'm the resident actor of the bunch, I'm very, very interested to see how they're going to show the stakes for these characters that they portrayed in the show. They're slightly different so far. We all know that. They're not exactly the same from the books that I interpreted. But what I'm wondering, I want to know what the stakes are going to be, specifically also with Nynaeve, because the reason she left Emmons Field in the books, was to save the kids and to get back and make Moraine pay. I don't see her having those same stakes in the show.
No, I don't see. Well, they had that weird like pool scene, and
they were trying to use. It seems like they were trying to give her a reason to be mad at Moraine with that whole thing about Nynaeve's teacher having been thrown on, not even allowed in the tower. But that whole story that Nynaeve tells about her teacher really does not sound like the White Tower at all.
No.
Or what it sounds like to me is her teacher was bitter and told Nynaeve a false story.
See, I think that might be true, but also it could be the possibility that she got there as a wilder. I thought about that. I thought maybe she knew because she knew she could channel. She walked in, she knew she could channel, so I thought she was strong enough as an Emmons Fielder with Netheran blood that, she got past the 1 in 5 thing or 1 in 4 or whatever they do to get there. And when she went there, they didn't want her as a wilder. That's what I
can't get behind the idea that it's because she's a wilder, because there are plenty of wilder Aes Sedai who've been allowed in and who were wilders
that we know of in the books, but not yet in the show.
Well,
but I would still expect there to be, somebody on the boat ride from Svaldara to the tower was a wilder, if I remember correctly. But I don't know. The one reason I could see that they would turn her down from being a student at the tower is because she's weaker than Morghese would never have been taught. They would turn Morghese away.
Well,
you know,
neither
with as weak as she
Scorelia
is.
wouldn't have either. Yeah, you're right. That's true.
Yeah. So
Well, it would
I'm
also
thinking
depend.
that would have. Go ahead, Matt or Bill.
Oh yeah, I was going to say it would also depend on the sister who's interviewing her. If it was somebody like Elida, she would completely be like, "No, go away." If there's no other sister around to check her, that's something she would do. She hates welders. So
Now, see,
And
I
you
could
notice
see
no one's
Elida as a. I could see Elida as an accepted doing that,
Yes.
telling
definitely.
some girl who comes to be a student, meeting her, being the one who catches her in the grand entryway there to the tower, and interviewing her there, like Almendrada gets her interviewed when she comes into the tower, and it being an accepted is no, leave. And the thing is the girl would probably not even realize it was an accepted, not an actual Aes Sedai that she was talking to.
That's definitely true.
Because she would see the ring, so you know we know it wouldn't be a novice, but she would see the ring, so she would think she talked to an Aes Sedai and went back home. Oh, they wouldn't let me be an Aes Sedai, and then as a student and teaches, oh yeah, they were so mean and rotten to me, and now Nynaeve on the show hates the Aes Sedai.
it doesn't matter. She got hooked in by land. We're good.
Yeah,
She's going forward.
definitely.
Yeah, what do you think? I actually really like this idea DKmoon brings up, that he thinks that Jordan kind of planned more conflict between Moraine and Nynaeve and then just kind of backed off on that as the story progressed.
Definitely. I can definitely see that because
Yeah,
of
I'd
where
agree.
the trajectory of it. But what I do like, and I remember, I believe it was Fires of Heaven, where Nynaeve actually has a POV where she talks about how her first journey to the White Tower was to help the Emmonsfielders. Then that morphed into her wanting Moraine to pay, and then that morphed into her wanting to learn to heal, and coincided with her hatred for Aes Sedai, even though she wanted to still be one. And I believe that was the chapter right after they left Luca and were on the boat with the captain that hated women. What was his name? Durna. No, not Durna. Durna was
I can't
Matt's
remember that
right.
one.
Durna was Matt's right. I can't remember the guy's name. But
I don't know, man. If you don't remember it, there's no chance in hell we do.
The only captain I remember is Damon or Vale Dolman.
okay, yeah, this was the captain that she made take all the refugees from when she was with Luca, and then he was a smuggler, and I believe what was the name of his boat, the River Serpent, in which with Nynaeve had the folly of getting the Prophet and Galad to look for the boat, and they started a civil war, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
Getting hung. You know.
It just came into my head an image, and I know this would actually kind of technically break the canon from the book going to the show, but when we see riverboats, I kind of really want to see one with paddle wheels, like a Mississippi riverboat. You know, like Samuel Clemens used to pilot up and down the Mississippi.
There's reference to this in the books.
But that's requiring steam power, and we only see steam power in book 5 or one of the later books with the guy at the little locomotive goes across the courtyard.
And do you remember
When he's at
the one sentence during that? The sea folk were interested in that contraption for their.
I remember that. Yep.
It was all. I thought that was super cool because I was like,
I love the idea of sailing up and down a river on one of those. Is that really sailing? Traveling up and down a river on one of those? I think that would be kind of fun to see. But I mean, that's a change I wouldn't object to. I wouldn't complain if they changed the tech level at all, because I really doubt we're going to get that scene at the school anyways. I don't see that as being important enough to put on screen.
Changes. You're killing our dream.
Well, Chancey, I agree 100%. The one informs the other, but the other is not beholden to the first.
Hey, Chance.
Yeah. Actually, yes. Hello. It's good to see you again. Guys, real quick, let me interject. I got some. I wanted to ask you guys: do you think Brandon Sanderson is trapped in a dungeon where he has to sign his name over and over again? He looks like a Sisyphus character, but he has a pen and not a boulder.
Well, see, I sent the question last night into the other night in the chat to. Was that last night? Yeah, that was last night. Or this, it was whenever it was. My memory on when is foggy right now. But during the chat, I said, when will Brandon Sanderson challenge John Green, author of Turtles All the Way Down, Looking for Alaska Paper Towns? When will he challenge John Green to assigning autographs for books live on YouTube? You know, have the two of them go head to head, carry on a conversation about writing, and while they're signing away, who could see the sign the most? Because
he was asked about a
TreeXHugger
that would help him, and it's like, why not assign my name TreeXHugger? Damn it!
That in chat.
Oh, did you? That's funny.
I said an autograph on Griel.
This is what I think.
Rubber stamp.
I think he was signing inserts for Jordan Con, and I think they're going to be $25 or $50.
Ooh, he's constantly signing though. Every time he's live, he just signs like thousands of.
As long as people are still paying for him, this is.
Oh man,
I was able to make out. I was able to make out. It looks like it's a reprinting of Words of Radiance, a new printing.
Oh, okay.
I'm guessing if it's for new printing for Words of Radiance, it's probably for the leather-bound edition. I don't know if that's already been sent out. I don't know what their order or when their time each of those leather-bound are coming out. But
I think he's making like $10 to $15 every time he does that. Everyone.
The count of how many he signed. That's funny. Someone just stood there the whole time counting. Yeah. Maybe when you buy a book, he actually gives you a little video clip of the book, the moment he signed it. He's like, "Here it is. That's yours.
That's your provenance right there."
Did you notice in one of them he tapped his pen on it a couple times, and I'm like, somebody's going to get these weird dots.
Oh,
and they're going to be like, "I got the one with the dots."
Wait, is this a thing? An auto pen? What is that?
Yeah. Yes, it is a thing.
That's like some Harry Potter shit.
Yeah.
Yes, that is a thing.
It sounds like one of those things in Stormlight Archive. The writing things, the quill, the paper, and then you let go and it writes by itself. You're just like, wow.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's veer this conversation into the nitty-gritty, the big reveals. There are big reveals, little reveals. Oh, just go on. Yes?
My biggest takeaway is that Sanderson says he's so behind on his writing. And I just can't believe that Brandon Sanderson, of all people, can say that. That's just, that baffles me.
His head must be crowded.
Wait. That's your big takeaway? That's your big takeaway? Come on.
Yeah. All the rest was okay, yeah.
Awesome.
I'm joking.
I hope so. I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
The whole entire series has been rewritten in my brain now. I have to start over.
I mean,
everything is different to me.
Extent.
So
yes, yeah. Okay, so the first reveal was a discussion about the pipe.
Yes,
and he says that Brandon and all of Team Jordan do not know how he lights the pipe, but he has his own thoughts on it. His thought says that Rand was, quote unquote, so close to the pattern for so long, it gave him the opportunity to influence the pattern. He also said that Harriet says that the fourth age will be as different from the third as the third was to the second age. And those are the answers to how he lights the pipe, what that's all about.
So one fan said that it's a terrestrial, which was probably the easiest way to, write this off. I personally don't think it was a terrestrial, and I think that after a lot of thought, I think I have, at least in my mind, a perfect explanation to what this is. Now, it is the Wheel of Time and Robert Jordan's entire vision. In this world, the physics are there. It's yin and yang. For everything, they have its opposite. Even Egwene dying went into this mantra. of for everything there's an opposite. Now, we saw Sidene, we saw Sidar, and we saw the true power. But we didn't see the opposite of the true power. And that's what I looked at it as when Rand did that was the creator's version of his power. And I thought that made a lot of sense because they had yin and yang for everything. Even the Angriel and Sangriel had their opposites.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I looked at it as Rand had just found the power of the creator.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And to that, and Brandon Sanderson said that Rand is the most powerful being on Earth because he just can imagine things and they happen.
Right.
Now, interestingly enough, the conversation flowed over to Nakomi, and I want to bridge this with what you're talking about, Jansen. I have a big theory about Nakomi that got challenged big time with the revelation we learned today. My belief is that Rand has, in this iteration, elevated to like semi-godhead, right? He was able to transcend the human shackles through dint of his experiences, little Tamil Thor, all that, all of his friends, everything he experiences. He was for the first time able to, in the male side, kind of transcend to this level. Nakomi has been waiting for him. Nakomi is the female side that transcended, and as women and men, we all know women develop earlier. So yeah, obviously a woman would transcend way early, and she's been waiting ages for this to happen. So what is now happening is that there's a cosmic balance that was never there before.
Well, there's definitely some things that definitely add weight to your argument. Like whenever we saw, we knew that Shadar Heron was always close to Moradin and always interacted with Moradin. Mm-hmm. Now, for Nakomi to do that with Rand, that would be kind of the opposite, because I look at Shadar Heron as the opposite to Nakomi.
Right.
I look at, as each being the avatar of the Dark One and the Creator. That's what I look at it.
Yeah, so and Brandon Sanderson agrees with you on that point.
Well, his point and your point can go together. She could be the one that ascended and still be the avatar. That may be why she's the avatar.
Ooh, I like how you put that. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, for all we know, Rand could be the next avatar.
Now, I was assuming that because I had not perceived the exchange between Aviendha and Nakomi to be in Teleranrod, and now it confirms that that's canon. She fell asleep. This occurred in Teleranrod. That makes it less mirroring Rand lighting the pipe just by thinking it, because you could do that shit in Teleranrod. You could think something and make it happen. So that kind of threw my whole theory into a wrench. Also,
is this the one time, was Aviendha a dreamer, or did she accidentally dream herself into Teleranrod? Did she get pulled in by the Creator? That could have
got pulled in.
I'd have to go with the pattern pulling her in. Okay. Because otherwise the Aiel would be erased. That was not what the pattern needed. So
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. I definitely agree with that.
Okay, so Shansi's saying she thinks Nakomi is the dreamer, right? And
that could be, absolutely. That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense.
Well, she's super skilled in it either way, like for sure. Why do we think we don't know more about this character? What is it? What is the effect of having a character like this? I
think that the Dark One, just like with the True Power and whatever power Rand used to light that pipe, very select few members of the Forsaken and of the Dark One's minions were allowed to receive the True Power, or were allowed to receive certain other, gifts from the Dark One. I think the same thing goes that Aviendha and Rand, and maybe Varen, possibly, I have a little theory about that, might have been the people that the Creator deemed worthy to have the Creator's touch upon them.
I like that. I do. I really like that.
Couldn't argue against it.
Yeah, because it gets interesting because I always kind of interpret things as being almost like genetics and things being like passed down, and these talents are like genetic lines that are going back and back, and they're finally like being expressed almost like epigenetically now.
I would say maybe the ability to channel would be genetic, but I don't know, the particular certain talents somebody has, I don't know if those would run in the family so much. I think those, I don't know, that's the feeling I get from the idea of them. But I do strongly believe that the White Tower, by not having children, especially by not having children with men who can channel, or men who are from family lines of men who can channel, that right there is why they find so few people who can channel anymore. Well, for years and years, their numbers were dwindling.
I think you're right.
Because
it makes you wonder, though. I do wish that they would have written this little thing in that I always think about. I think that there should have been more, not necessarily false dragons, but men that were born with the spark coming out of the two rivers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that, like, because they were, with how many
fertile
women
ground,
they found there, how many people, how pure their blood was from the past, and how strong it was.
Especially since how many girls they found.
Right.
Yeah, but there is a thing, Tam left, and certain other people might have left on the fringe too, that might have gone and, been men who could channel. But I just, for some reason, thought there should have been more men from the two rivers that could have been there with the spark. I just do think that.
Yeah, and that's interesting. It's almost like, like the talents or the wolf dreams and Perrin and then Matt's luck and stuff. I almost thought like the men got the talents and the women got the channeling.
Because we do know, other people did go through the two rivers that they don't talk about, except for one passage, when Andral drew from the wine spring water to make Pavara tea.
Yeah.
So we know that there were other people that had visited the two rivers that they don't really talk about. It would have been
I remember that. Yeah.
So it would have been nice to have actually seen, that.
No, I do think I have a possible reason why Jordan decided not to have the Aes Sedai, making sure that channeling stayed in the gene pool, is because then it would have really been obvious that their ancestral root is the Bene Gesserit.
That's true.
Exactly. Because the Bene Gesserit play that whole eugenics game and breeding program.
That's true.
And the Aes Sedai are obviously, to anybody who's read Dune, maybe even watched Dune, they're obviously inspired a great deal by, the Bene Gesserit.
Is there any textual evidence of any historical manipulation by Forsaken to kind of set that whole thing like in line? Like, could it be that they had every intention of just doing it the correct way, but somehow like some belief system got corrupted or something like that? Is there anything like that at all?
There is the lie that Balzaman told Rand that he had two people actually hinted towards this, Padam Fain and Ishmael, that Rand and Matt and Piran's lineage was coerced through years. But I believe that we're all both in lies.
Well, you got to keep in mind, we don't know how long Massiana has been in the tower. So
True.
She could have been steering things for a very long time.
True.
Setting up the sort of drought of channelers on purpose.
Because
at least after the end of
if that was the case, then it could have been 2 years she was there. So
see, I would have loved, because like we have the Shanchan and they have like their corrupted prophecies, and that has snowballed into like this kind of militant, right? Like that was a huge manipulation that helps us understand the Shanchan's like current state of mind and their motivations. I would have loved to see something like that for the White Tower. It just seems like they're just like it's almost like a trope that like just a bunch, put a bunch of women together and they can't get along. It seems like the most historically dysfunctional system ever, and the fact that they thought they were keeping the world together when they could barely fucking wipe their own asses. I always thought it was either like some sort of weird like misogynistic like tone, or they maybe I want them to have been corrupted. And that's why I'm begging for them to have been somehow manipulated from my side. I do like the Masana idea. Masana arrived before Elida's coup. Okay.
Yeah, good point.
Oh, definitely. I agree.
It was part of all that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Keep this in mind, though. Even though the Shanshin had apparently warped or twisted views of the prophecies, they still had true prophecies from their doomsayers.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they were just, and we also know that even, people who could even like see the pattern, like Elida, who had the foretelling, could even interpret it wrong. So we know that like at least at one point, Shanshin had people giving true visions. They might have interpreted it wrong, but they actually had real doomsayers that saw the pattern. Maybe even more so than the White Tower did.
They're like it's an omen, and they're like no, they're coming with 5 ships to this port, and it's an omen. 5 ships means the winter is going to be cold. No, the ships are coming. Yeah, I get it.
We heard Chuan say, had he cried on his grave yet? And that was a seriously true statement,
Yeah, at the same time, the Shan Chans have been manipulated, so have all the different versions of it in Randland.
Oh,
To get what was really there, I think you'd have to take all of the Carathian cycle from both sides of the ocean and have a bunch of literary experts sit down and try to, like biblical theologians who study the Bible, where'd this part come from? Where'd this come from? And
they can't agree on that either.
Person, I think, there's one person in Randland who I think interpreted the prophecies the best. She might not have known everything, but I think Varen knew more than anyone.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She knew more than anyone. Remember, she asked parents, so when are you going to put that up for the hand? Remember, and that was very early in the series when she did that.
Yeah, it was.
So,
amazing.
She could have gotten that from the social. Wasn't he wielding a axe or a hammer during when the image of him that Balsamon showed everybody?
He was, but after that, he had the axe in the 2 rivers, and she said,
"But I'm assuming she was one of the Aes Sedai that was there at the Dark."
Oh, that's what she said. When are you going to pick up the hammer? Yeah. It's because are you what?
Because she saw it. I'm thinking. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I read The Great Hunt. I mean,
that's
a long
disgusting.
while.
I read it. I read The Great Hunt 5 days ago. I read Dragon Reborn 2 days ago, and I just finished the other one again.
See, I haven't reread The Wheel of Time since I finished A Memory of Light.
Oh, the like 15 or 16.
I actually went years without reading anything for a while there, and only a few years ago started reading again.
So this is interesting. Jason Renner saying putting up the axe was the Shanshin prophecy. I think we're saying that Varen saw an image of Perrin holding a hammer during the Dark Friends social, and that's how he knew that he was going to hold the hammer. So that's what we're getting at. What do you think?
Well, we know one of the prophecies says when the Wolf King hangs up the axe and picks up the hammer, so are the end of days coming, so we knew, that was part of the prophecy. But remember, Varen also had access to the shadow, and they had their own full prophecy as well.
Yeah.
I want to read those.
Me too. I would love to read those.
Blood calls blood. A lot of blood. I'm sure there's just a lot of blood.
I really think that they should have Alan and Maria, and if Harry wants to edit it, good, but have Alan and Maria put together a Carathian cycle. But have it be like
a prophecy book. And then my idea which I know is small, and I know I can't do this because I wanted to do this at JordanCon, but I wanted to sell a book of herbs and wisdoms and wise women and hedge doctor book of all the
Nice.
stuff. I thought
my trick with
awesome.
the trick with the
That was
Carathian cycle is everything east of the Atlantic gets the Randland version. Everything west of the Atlantic gets the Sean Chan version.
It's awesome.
You have to order from Amazon UK or overseas website. But yeah, because there's the Sean Chan version and there's the
I hope
Randland
I hope there's a Wheel of Time Jeopardy at JordanCon because I will win.
Oh.
Yes, you will.
I know somebody who might give you a run for your money.
Oh, I know two people, but I got
know a
on
couple.
White Hen Pepper. I got a guy on White Hen Pepper last week.
Yeah. One of them's in Finland, the other's in Norway.
Mm-hmm. I got a guy. Jen said I got a guy. I love it.
I
All
got
right,
it.
let's get back to the revelations. I'm loving it. You guys, think this is a great conversation. You guys got great energy today. Thanks. There is a discussion of the body swap after the Comey come up. We talked about the body swap.
I love this.
My God.
And this great quote comes, the soul that wanted to live found the body that wanted to live.
Yes.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, Jordan
I
said
have it
that
on my
for
notes
years.
right here in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was either a quote from Harriet or Harriet quoting Robert Jordan, but that was directly from Harriet to
Jordan. Brandon.
Sanderson. Yeah, sorry.
That's Jordan. My fault.
And so Sanderson talks about kind of his thought processes, and he knew that Robert Jordan just, in the end, just really wanted Rand to be able to breathe, unburdened, have an unburdened
Be alone
life.
and just,
Yes,
live a life.
get some relief, which is really touching. I didn't know that. That's really awesome. And one thing we learned is how much the ending was actually written by Robert Jordan. Much of the ending was his writing, and he just was kind of guiding it along. I really like that. It is confirmed that the Balefire and all that stuff. Is there anything else any thoughts you guys had on the whole body swap conversation?
Every time I thought about the body swap, I always thought about the one huge factor that they left out. The people whose body it was in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've got on here.
So, when you have a body swap to someone who can channel, those souls were souls that could channel, right?
Yes, I believe
Yeah.
so.
So what I want to know is where those souls went and what happened to them, because I think that's something I never, most people don't think about. But there were powerful souls that had to be taken over for these people to actually go in bodies and use the one power.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, who was Moradin pre, Fires of Heaven or Crossroads of Twilight or any of them, who was
or thousands of years ago, even.
Yeah, or whoever. What soul was that? Was that a soul that had been reborn before? Was that like Elon Morin or something like that? Or Gilgame or any of those people, like Gilgame, who was a powerful channeler but decided not to and lived within the walls of Farmadding, which was the enclave of the Conquistan or something like that. Those who didn't want change. So who were, I always thought that these souls had to be, important people before that. I do believe that they had to take them from those people.
I think it depends on the soul, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely.
I mean,
because doesn't a soul have to give itself to the Dark One to be taken?
I think so.
No. If you're able to channel, it takes 13 fetches.
Yeah,
that's
13
true.
channels.
That's true. That is true.
So you're
that's
not. So you're being
That doesn't necessarily
And
mean
that
your
is the
soul
proper
belongs
term?
to them. Your body does.
All the other words for fetches are not allowed anymore online. It was a law passed last week. So it's fetches. Just remember, it's fetches.
It's not
Fetches.
fetches.
All right, well, here we go. Real quick, we're getting corrected. Perrin was shown with an axe at the Darkfin Social. And an oddity,
Okay.
a battle axe hung at his side, a great steel half moon balanced by a thick spike. So,
Okay.
if that's the case, then Baron did know the Shanshin prophecy.
Yeah, that adds weight to the. That
I
adds
was
weight.
just,
So, which
I was
makes
just
her
taking a wild
even,
guess.
which makes her even that much more of an astute badass for like putting prophecy to Perrin that early.
Well, even
That's
in the
amazing.
Great Hunt, we knew how much she had traveled because she even said she only knew of 2 other stones, one in the Eel Waste and one all the way west. So Varen had already been to these portal stones already. She had already
She
been
must
to
have,
them.
yeah.
You know, so yeah, I think she has vast knowledge. Like,
Oh yeah, she
maybe
must
it's-
have. Yeah, yeah. I had assumed she'd already used those portal stones when she was telling Rand how to use them.
And
That
like, not
part
only, I
about-
mean, there's so many small things. Remember, she also was a dark friend, so she knew everything from every Aja and all this. She knew everything.
Mhm.
that whole bit about where she got that prophecy about the hammer could also be from the dark prophecies. That
yeah.
could be, we only saw that one little snippet of the dark prophecies on the jail at Faldara.
No, we saw more.
But
No,
Nope,
she had
nope.
it. She had it
we
written
knew
down.
it as dark
She read
prophecy.
more to Egwene.
She
There was a
has
prologue
okay.
too. Wasn't there a prologue? Or it was either
Oh,
a
it
prologue or an epilogue from the Dark Prophecy. It was at least one. I know for a
I'd
fact.
have to
When and it was the one when the Wolf King holds up the axe and the fool who laughs does something. That was from the Dark Prophecy.
Okay.
I gotta check
Yeah.
it back, but I know I'm 99% sure it's from the Dark. One Dark Prophecy was in the epilogue or prologue.
awesome. All right, chat. We'll probably confirm or disconfirm. That's not a word.
Oh, it'll get confirmed.
Yep. Good job, chat. Get to it.
You're getting cut?
Okay. All right. Well, then now, okay. The last. Okay. Okay. Well, we've just been licking the icing. We're gonna get to the nugget.
Oh yeah.
A certain Forsaken is alive. Landfear, ladies and gentlemen, is alive. It was confirmed. Did anyone here pick up on that
No.
before?
No, I
Nope.
didn't. I wish I did.
I don't know why
I was
I've
absolutely
always.
oblivious.
I always thought she was alive, but I can't tell you why, and I don't know how. I didn't like suss anything out. I probably just wasn't thinking clearly. But yeah, for some reason, I didn't think she was dead. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know she was like super powerful, and now
Well,
like
here's the core reason why I think we should have seen it, especially us, because if you look at Landfear without this, through the entire series, everything she did just turned into pure folly. It was a stupid high school girl who wanted her boyfriend back.
yeah.
I think things worked out when she created that. Wasn't she the one who brought the Trilix in for the attack on the stone? When
Yeah,
some
the
of
ones
the
to
other
help.
dark friend, one of the other Forsaken had guys coming up from the docks. I
Yes.
think things worked out for her that day.
Yeah, I think they worked out.
So,
But
Yeah, but
They worked out the whole series, so don't worry.
yeah, but
I
she
think-
had them at the docks. It was a perfect trap. She had them, but she had to go all freaking Real Housewives. She had to get all jealous and crazy. She lost control, and that is her folly. And I'm down with that idea.
but there's also some other great points with Landfear. If you remember when in A Memory of Light, when she kept bringing land into those vacuoles, we learned a lot of information. Rand told her, I was there invisible when you told the Hall that you would kill me. And she even said, did I mean it? And Rand said, no, she didn't. She was defying the Dark One even in 2 ages prior,
Mm-hmm.
from the very beginning. And there's something else when I just said I want to go into later about that. But yeah, she's been trying to beat the Dark One and the Light from the very beginning. Like her ego,
she was playing her own game.
For me, I fell into that trap of only thinking of her as a sort of evil person who wanted her boyfriend back. And I fell into that. Plus, Perrin's growing adeptness at Tel'aran'rhiod made me think he had the upper hand on her. And looking back, I'm like, they did call her the master of Tel'aran'rhiod at one point.
Yeah, she said, well, she's like, oh, my.
And I can see the signs now, but it's like, damn it, how did I miss that?
And then that brings up the other question that I also asked us earlier. And this is going to blow everybody's mind. But was Lanfear Hopper?
I don't know.
Help him parent out.
Dude.
I mean-
no, 'cause she wasn't out yet because Hopper was before. Well, the Hopper he watched die, or the Hopper he saw in Teleronria?
The Hopper and Teleranria.
Hopper and Teleranria,
Okay,
the one
just
that
Teleronria.
caused
Okay.
Yeah, that would
Alright.
truly be the
It could
long
be.
game, though, if she was actual wolf, dies.
There's one argument that says she was not Hopper. When the horn was blown, Hopper wasn't there. So when you die in Teleronria, you die forever.
Yeah.
And when the horn was blown, we saw no Hopper. So, that tells me that maybe she wasn't
I mean-
Hopper.
I don't think she was, but the idea that she was is just like,
I like it, but doesn't she? That would mean she would have to be able to like fully mimic wolf communications styles, the imagery and all that.
Well,
Like the
she knew
sensing.
more about the wolves than a lot of people, because even when Piran said Moon Hunter, she said, "Oh, is that what the wolves call me?" So she knew. She at least knew something of how he
Jesus.
interacted with them.
I'm
Yeah,
not
she
putting
must have,
anything
yeah.
past her now. I mean, I got to reread everything because looking at her interaction with every character is different now.
Yes.
Yep.
Like, my God,
Yeah.
I'm not going
if
to
all
lie.
you're after is her, read from 2 on. She's nowhere near being seen in episode in book.
And
one.
the hit or miss between her and Moradin brings a whole new thing too. She was very, very weary of Moradin because he was the best male dreamer alive. I mean, if you look at Moradin, just about every time we see Moradin, every time we see Ishmael,
Yeah.
90% of the time it's in the dreams.
Dream. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a master of the world of dreams.
Was he?
And-
Was he the one who created that like floating world underneath over water, and all
Yes.
those people were
Yes.
trapped in a never-ending drowning state?
But weirdly enough, remember when all those crystal spikes came up and those people were inside of them? I actually attribute that to Teleronria too. Because where else were those people coming from? I just for some reason think that they were in those crystals. I don't know why.
Okay.
So, Shansney, I want to ask you: did you pick up on it that she was compelling him, and that she had the upper hand the whole time, and that she was using him to basically get word to Rand that she's dead? Did you pick up on that?
I never picked up on it. And in fact, when I heard the explanation, it even blew me away more. Because, what do you think? I mean, we're in a world with Aes Sedai, the smartest, most craftiest people on Earth. And we're talking about Lanfear, who was one of the best of them all from ages before. And I think that's one thing that a lot of the fans sleep on a lot, is what it meant to be an Aes Sedai, exactly what kind of caliber person that you becoming an Aes Sedai.
Mhm.
Because we got, especially in the later books, we got so many of them, and so many of them making mistakes, thinking the wrong thing. Aes Sedai in the world here, they're more than like a doctor lawyer from Harvard. They're more than the president of the United States. They're literally walking gods.
Mhm.
With power that could wipe out nations if they wanted to, and with the knowledge of eons at their fingertips, especially since they got the Terrio
The iPad.
they got the iPad, I mean, they have more knowledge than the average person 1,000-fold. They're more powerful than the average person 1,000-fold. And for someone like that, Lanfear is like that on steroids.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They even talk about it. So for someone like that, why wouldn't we have thought she couldn't be that crafty? We thought Grendel was crafty, but
because of her fatal flaw, though. It's that fatal flaw.
I had forgotten it was Tel'aran'rhiod where she died, because it's been so long since I read. But Tel'aran'rhiod. I mean, if you say you understand Tel'aran'rhiod, you don't understand Tel'aran'rhiod.
You don't understand Tel'aran'rhiod.
It's like quantum mechanics that way. So
the more you look at it, you affect it.
And I mean, and then there's the other thing that I had also brought up to people before. For the entire series, Ishmael / Balsamon / Morden / Elon bragged, if not only goaded Lews Therin with the fact that it's always been us through the ages. I think that because he was also the father of lies, I think he was jealous that it wasn't him, it was Lews Therin and Lanfear. Because those two souls, at least as far as we know as fact, have lasted at least 3 ages.
It wasn't necessarily always the dragon, because there's the female counterpart to the dragon, Amaterasu, who I think the only time we see her in the series, I think she's one of the Hunters of the Horn at some point. Either the first time or the second time. I don't remember which, but
it was the first.
I had to look up the name because I kept getting confused with the Japanese goddess whose name is like one syllable off.
Amaterasu or something.
Yeah, and he named it after her. But I think
that it's very possible that the soul of Lanfear and the soul of Rand, I think they may pop up in every age.
See, I think Ilyana was Elaine.
That's possible. That's definitely possible.
But Jansen,
I don't know who the dragon was connected with in the age before that, when it was Mirren's, previous soul. I mean, they could have been hooked together before that, but I'm pretty sure that this age mirrored the previous age, with him being with Ilyana / Elaine again.
See, I have I mean, this begs the question. Like, so Jansen, you're saying that Rand's soul has lasted 3 generations. Are you saying that is Lews Therin, his soul, is directly implanted into Rand?
I think that they're the same soul. I think they're the same soul. I think that there are other people from other ages that are also attached to that same soul.
I see that. I mean, but like, how are they, but they're distinctly separated, like in his mind and in his experience of it.
They are, but Rand also said, remember, I was Lews Therin, but he was also always me.
Jansen, you're out of sync with your video and audio.
Hello?
No. We can see. I can see and hear you. Just you're out of sync by about a second.
Oh, you're back. All right.
Hear it.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Okay. So we've gone through Lanfear, and she wanted to take down the Dark One. She compelled Perrin. All that. That's amazing.
Apparently, she was sincere on that side change then, and not just lying through her teeth when she said she changed sides.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Rand would have seen that when he was delving her, or when he was like telling her to open up, or maybe I guess she never really did open up to him.
Well, because she's always been on her own side.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't really change sides. She stayed on her own.
All right, fair point.
So that's why she didn't open up.
So let's get into next. The interview moved into discussion about Harriet and how Harriet took Brandon Sanderson as a young writer and helped him out, gave him the freedom that he and every artist requires. And I got a lot of inspiration from this conversation. I got a lot of inspiration from hearing his admiration for Harriet. I
love the fact she said, "Take risks."
Yes. Oh man. And that's fun. That's something I didn't know. She said that Robert Jordan took risks every book and was willing to change major things if the story required it. Encourages them to take risks, and he encapsulates it by saying, "I really appreciated how they treated me because I've never had to create a product. I've only created works of art. And that it's really powerful statement. And I kudos to him for pursuing a life of art and for not selling out, but also ending up rich as shit. but yeah, like it is amazing. I really like that whole message that as an artist, I've never had to create a product, and those books were not products I needed to create. They were works of art that I was in full control over, and I really like that.
The closest thing to a product I could say he's done is the lectures he gives at BYU.
Yeah,
the writing lectures. That's the closest to a product that I can think of he's produced.
I don't really look at that as a product. I think he's just trying to share what he's learned. That doesn't seem like something he's profiting from at all.
Closest. I'm not saying necessarily profit. I'm just saying it's the closest to something that I would look at as a product.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's what I should say, that I would look at as a product. But
Gotcha.
Chancellor, I totally agree with this. She did not all of a sudden convert to the light. She saw a way out and took it. She measured everything out and took what she could out of it, for sure. Helping out the good guys, quote unquote, whatever that means, was for her own edification, for sure. Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I never thought she changed, from the dark, but from darkness to being a light sider. But I did think, she apparently being honest when she says she wants to beat the dark side. So
yeah, but she doesn't want to beat.
She didn't have Vader's moment of redemption.
Yeah. No, she doesn't want to beat the Dark One to save humanity from suffering. She wants to beat the Dark One to become the Dark One, use the Dark One for her own ruling powers and have immortality, basically. No, she's a fascinating character, and I love learning. I always wondered about Mad Hatch's fascination, but yeah, for him to just say, like, she's the one who wanted to take him down, and that's why I liked her.
His profession makes sense now.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean, before that, I'm like, she's okay, but she went to the top of my dark friend list. I'm like, oh my god, she's brilliant, and I never saw it. That's how brilliant she is. So for me, Lanfear went from about third on my dark friend list to number one overnight.
Oh yeah, definitely number one.
So then,
my god, she's the best.
Now, on some level, though, your idea, Jansen, that it's not been Ishamael, but it's actually been Lanfear this whole time, adds credence to the ending. She's still here. She and Rand are still trolling around on this globe, which is fascinating to think about. Like, there's that thread is continuing, and it might be forever. Right now that she's that powerful.
Well, now we also know that there are 3 of the Forsaken still walking the earth alive. And what's to say that Lanfear or Mogadine couldn't revive Masana, who's sitting there shitting herself in the White Tower?
That's true.
So there's those
too,
3. And Grendel, so there's 4. Yeah, and I mean, what's crazy is that Nynaeve could heal Grendel, probably. And keep in mind, Grendel, even though she's in love with Avienda, she still knows what's going on in her head. She knows who she was. She still knows everything.
Oh wait! Oh, Chancey thinks Grendel's just she's gonna weave her way out of the compulsion from inside.
Possible.
That'd be like getting put on hold, and
if she lives that long, they were talking
more
about
Morgaze did it.
Yeah, Morgaze did it.
I could see Cerelia just slitting her throat.
Yes.
Yeah. I definitely see her dying soon.
And the crowd was quiet.
It'd have to be really quick.
What's that that Cerelia said? I'll leave you for the ants.
All right, so to continue on with the analysis of the video, Brandon Sanderson starts talking about killing of Egwin, the group decision to kill Egwin. They did a poll. Everyone wanted Egwin dead. It was amazing. They're all, kill her. That was great. Good
I
job.
love the Queen. I didn't want her dead, but at the same time, her death was so rewarding in a way.
Yeah. So I thought that what they were trying to get at is that she was in the genetic lineage of the woman. I can't remember her name right now, but the Aes Sedai who saved the Two Rivers and burned herself out. What's her name? Help me out. Encyclopedia Jansen.
Oh, the Queen of Manetheren.
Yeah. So.
Queen of Manetheren.
So yeah, that whole story. I thought that they were just directly pulling a parallel with that, and that was the intention the entire time.
Eldrine.
Yeah, Eldrine. I think
it came to me. It came to me at the moment.
I think they put those two together later. He hinted that they looked at Amerlins in the past, and they looked at the Green Aja, and to determine why they could justify, his real deep desire to just kill her off. Now, what was fun here is though he said this line, and I really like this line. I want to talk to you guys about it. He was talking about the stakes for the last battle, and he said we need a real fighting force. We need to really, where's the power going to come from? Rand's not there. He goes, Rand is quote unquote off dueling realities, and I'm just like, what? He calls the battle with the Dark One dueling realities.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah. Remember, Rand said...
just tell me why. I mean, like, it sounds great, but what does that mean? Tell me why. Well,
if you remember...
Like, as if I'm a fourth grader.
If you remember when Rand went into the cavern to fight the Dark One, and after he touched the blackness, he went into a world...
They froze,
and he even said, in his own POV, it said he had to... It was such a crazy, intense reality that he had to make it something that his mind could understand. And that's why he got Emmons Field and Nynaeve and all those other people.
Yep.
And he
Not
said
just that. Also, that when he's envisioning the world without the Dark One, and the Dark One's kind of trying to show him. I mean, these are the dueling realities. He wants a world without the Dark One, and he's like,
"True,
well,
yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Good example.
Here you go."
Yeah, that's it right there.
Say,
that's it right there.
Yeah. That makes me wonder if Robert Jordan, if Jim was reading the early issues of the Sandman, because there's a duel in the Sandman of this reality versus this reality. It's when he's in hell, Bill.
Yeah,
it's basically a duel about this reality of, I'm the Earth and I am this, and it's basically reality fighting reality. So I wonder if he got the idea. It just occurred to me as we were talking that that's kind of like that. This is a world with this, that's a world with that.
And also Rand was seeing the world differently than anyone else at the time too. He could see everyone fighting at the same time. Even and this is in a world where time was distorted as well, in different places. So he got to see everything happening at the same time. And he was definitely in
concept.
No, he saw Egwene die, right?
He did.
Yeah.
Because remember, he cried and said, "Not her." But then she came back and talked to him and said, "Why can't I fight you too?"
Fuck yeah! So awesome. Right, I know. Sanderson said that Rand is quote unquote the direct manifestation of the pattern. What he wills happens. He can basically imagine anything and it occurs. But that's his headcanon. That's his headcanon.
But we started seeing this happen before this happened. Remember, Rand started walking around and things started growing around him. I mean, if he started singing in front of the Sanshin, like they said, it started filling the world like spilled paint.
When they had that scene in the book, I thought Rand was singing this song.
That was intense to me. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
That I found out. Jordan says the song never existed.
What?
He's singing a song, not the song.
Look
because later, are you singing? And he's like,
look in the big black book.
Hold on.
Matt knew what it was. Matt knew what the song was.
Everyone, hold on a second. You're on the way to leave. Right now, you're saying the song never existed. What is happening?
Not in the books.
I'm
sorry, but according to the companion,
my people,
whatever the big black book is, the super glossary, the mega glossary, You go in there, you look up the song, or it's under the
I
song,
know
or it's
they
under the
say that.
Twapa.
But I think the text tells us something different. Now,
I
If the song
I
is
agree with
there,
you
it's
with
what
the
Rand
text.
is singing.
Yeah,
I was
agree with the
convinced that
text.
No, I think it's a
I
cross
was
between
convinced
like
until
yeah.
I heard that Rand
Uh-huh.
was singing the song, and when everything was growing around him and he was singing, and it was having all these effects, I thought that was it.
Do you think he was like doing like tube and throat singing?
No, I think the song when the Witch that wrote the spear, his ancestors go back. His ancestors go back to where they were singing with the Oglier and the Nim, and then his ancestors also say that I'm going to try to find that song again. And those were his ancestors, so that was I have to believe that was the song they were talking about.
God, yes. Thank you, Jansen. My heart's like spilling out from my.
Even back in the day, he told us what we saw in that during the Wayback Machine sequence. He even told us back then that it wasn't the song.
Okay.
So we knew we were still looking for the song all the way up until the last book. And then I thought, hey, we've got it. And then a couple of years ago, I found out I didn't even know that the companion existed. And I found out because somebody mentioned that the song doesn't exist. I'm like, what? And they told me about that book. I'm like, oh, wow.
So, Ryan, if you kill Glenn, I could use you as a guest host on the show.
Oh, in a heartbeat.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I won't go on your shows and say all people with beards are, not to be trusted babysitting.
Well, actually, you shouldn't trust me. To be honest, I am irresponsible. I wouldn't trust me.
Oh, thank you, Shansney.
Sorry, Ryan.
Yeah, no, you're not. No, I think you're relishing it. It's okay, though.
No, I was disappointed myself.
Have you the song? So my people are just wandering around. All right. Well, at least... All right, so
it gives new meaning to the word "lost ones." That's for sure.
I swear, like Robert Jordan, like took a plane back in the '80s and saw some of the the Hare Krishnas with flowers out of an airport and just came up with the whole idea. He's like, "Look at these people. What are they chasing? What are they chasing here?"
He dressed them like hippies from the '60s and '70s, wearing tie-dye.
Oh yeah, I assume there's just one big dead cat.
The show should have had them in tie-dye. Tie-dye and colorful knit stuff too, but yeah.
Oh, that would have been awesome if that was a design from the Age of Legends. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. That would have been awesome.
I was really happy when
a little too on the
Bryant at Wheel Talk, I think his channel is, when he did a sketch video, a bunch of Tinkers and Twathon, and they were all sitting there wearing tie-dye.
Okay,
because of the colors and everything. That makes so much sense. I would have. Oh, that makes so much sense.
Recappa.
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of. I couldn't think of.
Oh, it's good to see you, Diljit.
Hey, Diljit.
Yes, we did you get the joke earlier where when he was asked if he had a Terangriel, why didn't he chose a signature Terangriel to give his hand a break? All right, Diljit's an old friend. All right, so back to the interview. We're just plowing right through this. There's so much to talk about. He has his own ideas about what is going to happen post books. Rand is going to be, quote unquote, raising his kids, and he's going to be meeting up with the three ladies when they are done with their individual duties. And he envisions that he's going to be kind of like a wise one on top of a mountain, giving out little gems of knowledge, but he's not going to really be an interventionist demigod. He's going to be just chilling with his family in isolation.
And seeing the world. He did say that Ram
and seeing the world. Yeah, and they said they're all going to see the world together, which was amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that, but I also think that it would be impossible for him to not get involved with Min, Elaine, and Avienda by his side.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's seeing the world, I really hope for their sake he doesn't go to Shan Chan. Because if he was on Shan Chan and had to see what the Shan Chan do, which we already know he doesn't like, I don't see him not getting involved there either.
No, I don't. Not his personality.
So
Yeah.
here's my take on this. I think that is pie in the sky thinking. Like Rand's gonna. I mean, Rand literally knows everything. He's immortal. These people are going to be a blip in his life. These women are going to just die out. They're not, he's going to outlast these women. I think he's not going to be able to comport himself in society. I think he's going to be removed from them.
Well,
how do you like love someone when you know when they're going to die, how they're going to die, everything about them, start to finish? Like he is an all-knowing, all like loving being.
He kept a torch for Ileana.
Well, yeah, I guess she was a Spitfire.
over the course of an age.
I think the way you deal with that is you cherish and love the people you love and know when they're going to die every second that you possibly can, because you know their death is coming all too soon. Of course, his death probably isn't coming that much later than Elaine and Avienda's.
Yeah, we don't know that he's immortal. We know that his soul is reborn more often than maybe most people, but I don't know if he's immortal.
We know that people who can channel as strongly as he do tend to live 700-800 years.
700 to 800 years.
Right.
But he technically can't channel anymore. He has a different power.
I think he's Nakomi.
We do know because
he's gonna be like hanging out in the dream world with all the ages of legends. He can do what the hell he wants. I think he's immortal.
Keep in mind,
he might not be able to channel anymore, but he's in the body of a channeler, and so
that's true.
That body should live, at that strength that he was, And Elena Navienda is going to live just as long, in theory.
True.
Men know, unless being able to see, visions around people gives you an extended lifespan. She's going to be dead long before.
So does Elaine give up Queen?
Eventually,
at some point, I'm sure she would step down. Yeah.
I just said this idea though. Yeah, he's using a corporal body. We understand that, but like he's not in a corporal state. He's just using a body. No, he's transcended. That's what I think. Like this makes this story just not one turning of the wheel. It's not going to happen again. This will never happen again. Ever. There's a new line of dragons that are going to have to be born. It's not going to follow this line.
Essentially he did break the wheel.
Oh,
remade it.
He reset it. He reset. He reset the reset button. That's what I think.
He set the reset button, which is
so what does that do
has happened
to the heroes
before
of the Horn?
Every boring.
Oh, good question.
What does that do to the heroes of the Horn?
No idea.
They're there.
Yeah.
I think I can't agree with Ryan. I think that this will eventually happen again once you go through 7 ages, or probably even ages in between, the dragon or Amaterasu is needed. But we know that this has happened before. And because we know that this has happened before, we have to consider, why wasn't there a patch instead of a smooth bolt where they're going to bore? If it hadn't happened before, or if there wasn't a patching done, some way to heal it completely other than just covering it over.
I believe Harrod Fell talks a little bit about this.
Because Mirren and Baydomen, they weren't patching, drilling through something that was a patch over. They were drilling something that was original. So at some point or another, you have to get an original again, and that's what Rand put in place. So several ages from now, the new Mirren and the new Baydomen can drill through something and start it all over again. This has happened before, and it will happen again. So say we all.
You got to keep in mind, when you were talking about Rand being back in society, Brandon Sanderson said, I see him in a shack alone raising his kids.
Yeah.
So he's not actually going to be, hanging out and dealing with politics and things like that. He's not doing it. He's going to be out in the middle of nowhere, raising his kids, chilling out. So I think he could do that. And if he's that divine, he can turn off his own divinity.
I mean, I can't turn off my sexiness.
You could try, but that mustache is just busting.
No, I cover myself in all sorts of stuff. Still the sexiest. Anyways, I love this conversation. I like speculating. It's really, really fascinating to hear Brandon Sanderson himself kind of like speculating freely about what's going to happen. There's kind of this one point that came up, and I really wanted to get your guys' opinion. Jance and I were trying to figure this out. They were talking about something, somewhere is written that Perrin said he needs to go kill a friend while he's sailing to Shan-Chan, and that Matt is like in a gutter saying he gambled it all away. What is this from? Why are they talking about that?
The Outrigger novels that Robert Jordan was planning on writing. He had some basics down, and the first one he had written down for that book was Perrin sailing across the ocean, and he says to somebody, I have to go kill a friend, and he's on his way to Shan-Chan.
I know one of the other Outriggers was going to be Tam, his journeys when he leaves the Two Rivers and then comes back. And there was also, in the third of the Outriggers, was going to be Lan and Moiraine, the last weeks or so before they arrive in Emmons Field. I think what you're brought up, though, I don't want to totally discount what Bill said, but I do think that that's actually more tied to the post-story, the ideas that he had ideas for further adventures. And it was all the Outriggers, I think, were before the story takes place, I believe.
Yeah.
I could be wrong because I can't remember what the third. I can't remember what the other. I only can remember two of the Outrigger ideas. But
keep in mind also, this is the Wheel of Time. Perrin could be going there with the intent of killing Matt, but he could also be going on disinformation.
And it also gets all kinds of twisty paralleling back to notes of before Jordan actually started the actual text of the series, because at one point Rand was supposed to go to the Shan-Chan, get shipwrecked and crash into Shan-Chan, and ended up getting into a relationship with an Aes Sedai there, but actually more like her daughter, who was also an Aes Sedai. And at the time, Aes Sedai were like ruling everything. Basically, think what was going on before Adam were invented. That's what he was going to have going, but he ended up scrapping that idea. And then he had an idea for a non-Wheel of Time series that originally he referred to as Shipwrecked, and then I think that became, I'm not sure what that became. There was another name he came up with of an idea, kind of Shogun-like, where somebody from one culture gets marooned or shipwrecked in a land that he at the time said was very Shan-Chan-like.
Why
I
do
think
we
that
assume,
ties back to, but it's all coming from the same core idea.
Why do we assume it's Matt he's going to kill? It could be Min.
Exactly. And here's the other thing. I don't think Perrin could beat Matt one-on-one.
The Matt they described in the gutter with no luck, maybe.
Maybe.
Matt's
so
badass.
Yeah, Matt is. I mean, because look at it this way: Matt could have killed Slayer with ease because Slayer couldn't have fought Matt in the World of Dreams. He would have to come out. Matt would have kicked his ass. Perrin might have gotten killed by the Golem.
Up until I started reading A Memory of Light, I thought what we were going to see happen at the last battle was Rand falling to the shadow and Matt taking his place as the champion of the light and then having to fight Rand, because Matt would school Rand. Matt's immune to the channeling because he's got that medallion.
Yep.
So Rand's power right there goes out the window.
Is it immune to mail channeling? Are we confirmed by that?
Yes,
it is.
Yes.
I thought it wasn't.
Lan, Gowan, and Galad fought Baal the Willed, and he said, I see you have a entering artifact on you. It did not affect them. It did not affect
I was
them.
picturing Matt, who we've already established a staff fight, because that Ashandarai, it's got the blade on the end, but it's still essentially a staff.
And remember,
we established at the White Tower that a staff has an advantage over a swordsman, no matter how good the swordsman is. I thought Matt was tailor-made to take Rand down.
And remember Egwene's POV. Remember Egwene's POV before they had to hand Matt all of the armies. She said to herself, "The only choice I have is to have somebody take this battle who who is immune to the powers of Sidene and Sadar. Sisters, I'm
That's
afraid
right.
we're going to have to give all of our armies to Mattress Coffin, and may
That's
the
right.
light protect us all.
Yes, you're right.
I
Okay.
actually had
You're
a few
right, yes.
people
Absolutely. I
back
remember
in the
that.
day.
now.
I had a few people convinced because it just really seemed like that's where he was going.
It did.
Here's the thing: the battles are like rock, paper, scissors. There's a match against everybody.
Definitely.
Depends on the circumstances, where you are, time of
Yeah.
day. There's so many factors that go into it that you can't really say, Matt, his necklace breaks. All of a sudden, he's toast to
There's a
Rand.
problem.
Oh, yeah.
So it's rock, paper, scissors. There's always something that can beat the other one. So
Yeah. But
Oh, yeah,
Rand
wait.
did seem tailor-made to fight with Rand.
I think
the
Rand
proximity
could-
dying
yeah.
and the
I mean, Rand can just blow up an entire mountain onto him and crush him. Like, he doesn't, like, that doesn't protect him from the falling debris
Right.
of a mountain falling.
the Ice
Like,
and I
think-
proved that when they were chucking stuff at him.
I
So
still think Rand would destroy Matt. But maybe give him some fork root tea, get a little drunk.
Or
I
just-
don't know.
if
Hand
they
to
fought in
hand
aesthetic,
combat.
if they fought in aesthetic, it would be hands down Matt. Rand wouldn't have a chance.
Yeah.
What if they just like punch each other, like no weapons, just like fisticuffs?
Matt does have fast hands.
Yeah, Rand's a big dude.
yeah, he's,
Rand, Rand,
he's beefy.
Rand's a big dude.
Matt's
just keep thinking about
wiry and fast.
the Rand who was like blowing up like dogs and alone in the forest. I don't want to face that guy in an arena.
Well, yeah, that was psycho Rand, man.
Yeah. All right. The last thing that Sanderson brought up that I found really, really meaningful was he said that if I were to ever write anything outside in the world of Will Time Again, it would have been the Tam Althor prequel. He said,
Yes,
but he
please.
knew how Jordan felt about Tam Althor, that it was very personal for Robert Jordan, so he decided against it. He said he handed me the ring and I gave it back. Yeah, I'm a noted Tam Althor stan. What do you think could have possibly been revealed in a Tam Althor prequel? What do you think we would learn?
I believe that he would have crossed paths with Chitara.
Agreed.
I think she would have already known who he was and made sure he was on the right path to going to Ilion and then getting back. I think that we would have we would have seen a lot more of Pedro Nile as well in that series, which would have been very cool. We would have seen, I think we'd have seen all the great captains before they became great captains.
Becoming great captains.
Yeah, becoming great captains with deeds, with things like that. I believe that we would have seen young Lan in that. I even think we would have seen a young Moraine in that as well.
Possibly.
Could Lan have personally taught Tam Althor? Well, they did not show any recognition. I mean, on some level, like
No. But they all went to the fight in the Aiel War, and they all had very big positions in the Aiel War. Lan was a commander. Pedro Nile was a commander, a sub commander at least. So was Gareth Bryn and Roy de la Tiralda. They were all fought in the Aiel War.
there'd be an amazing scene where
Tam would have been with the general.
Lan is
They would have been
teaching everyone how to get to Cody, right? Right? What if it was Lan who taught him the flame in the void?
What if it was Bukama?
Would be interesting.
But what I would have loved to
just
see
can't-
was in this book, this fictitious book, the very last scene I think would have been awesome as he sees fighting up the hill, walking up the slopes. I think that would have been very powerful.
Oh no, I think or the actual moment he kills Tigraine would be the end of that I want.
Well, he didn't kill her.
That's unclear. It's unclear.
I refuse to believe that. No.
No, in
Actually,
the book,
in the book,
book
it said
was
he
already
found the
dead.
baby
In the
next
book,
to a dead mother.
he's in a fever dream. He's ashamed of what he did. He doesn't want to admit
remember he
it.
said the baby was blue with the cold.
Ryan, I thought you were a
Mom was
fan
dead.
of Tam.
Yeah, the mom was dead.
Yes, it's battle, and he went there
I
to
like
get
the
the
way
baby.
it played out on the show, though. I really do like the way it played out on the show.
Oh
Yes.
my god, that's one of the best
Yeah.
scenes of the whole.
It's just
That was amazing.
Even
That-
without the fighting.
yeah.
Even without the fighting, just
That
the baby
scene was
kill.
up there with the Battle of the Bastards. Is one of my favorite scenes on television.
It was awesome.
Agreed.
I started to shed tears when he put the sword down. That look on her face when she realized he's gonna help me.
Help-
He's not
oh.
here to kill me.
Beautiful acting. Some of the best I've ever seen. Oh, my-
Yeah,
I still watch that and say,
yeah,
how do you
no words. Yeah,
Yeah.
no words. Yeah.
The
Yeah,
relief
it was just
and
hard.
everything about it was awesome.
Okay, yeah,
I think we're
don't.
going to see more of that actor in flashbacks as well.
Thank you, DK.
That's funny.
Agreed.
All right. Well, this has been an amazing discussion. Is there any points that you guys wanted to bring up on your own? What do your notes say?
I'll bring up
we're-
one. Now,
Mhm.
usually for the past few weeks, we've talked about what we would do if we were there, what we would have liked to seen with 5 more minutes or something like that, because we've been talking about this show. Well, I'm going to end my part of this tonight saying I'm going to use Brandon Sanderson's last 5 minutes, and I agree with him. I would have loved to have seen the cleansing of the ways.
Yes.
All right, he
Yes.
goes last from now on.
I haven't
man.
even
We
read
can't
that,
keep up
but
with
that'd
him.
be cool to see. I haven't read that yet. That's one of the few pieces of Wheel of Time stuff that I have yet to read.
What do you mean, the cleansing of the ways?
Yeah.
How
Yeah,
can you,
only
what do you mean?
a couple
How
few
can you
weeks
read
back
it?
Just Ravens. Got around to reading Ravens.
Oh, well, we need to talk about that. Tamal Thor knows all about the prophecies for some reason.
Well,
I'm having a problem remembering something, so I was wondering if you guys knew the answer. When Branderson talks about the main 4, main 5, which Emmons Fielder do you think he was leaving off when he said 4? That's my first question.
Probably Nynaeve.
Who would he have
Nynaeve,
left
yeah.
off? Would he have left off Nynaeve when he was
Nynaeve.
thinking?
Yeah,
He didn't even. He didn't even talk about Nynaeve this whole interview.
Yeah, Nynaeve. I would say
Yeah.
Nynaeve.
I
Yeah,
noticed that.
he famously hates her guts. Just kidding.
That was my other one. I had another
Something
note
about
here. I
burn her
wanted
in
to
the
bring
fire.
up.
Oh yes, I want the complete life's work of Rodell. I tell her all day.
I'd read it.
Absolutely.
He was the second best general in the whole thing. He was awesome. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah,
I like his
arc was
character.
Awesome.
My
Awesome.
big takeaway from everything was how much trust the team Jordan gave to Sanderson, and
Oh my gosh.
he like take chances. It's okay to go out there and do this. We'll help you. How supportive and how they just said the right thing at the right time to the right guy is
Oh, yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. I
I
agree.
found the other one I wanted to bring up. Well, one of the other ones. This might be hinting at something in season 2. Let me read this quote. And I made sure to copy this and left out the uhs and ahs. But this is from Jordan. One of my goals was I still love the dynamic between Rand, Lanfear, and Moradin, Elan, however you want to say it, Ishamael, where however you want to go, like the classic sort of one that they actually sort of which they actually sort of leaned into in the television show. Which is one of the things I like about the television show is they're leaning into, particularly with Ishamael, right, is leaning into this idea that they knew each other, they were friends, and the personalities they expressed. How does he manage to work Lanfear into that? Because if he's talking about season 1, then it can't be correct because Lanfear's nowhere there.
Mhm.
That
But
you
he
know of.
includes Lanfear in there, which hints to me he's talking about there's going to be a relationship shown between Lanfear, Rand, and Ishamael.
I mean, it's possible they could put that, Moradin and Lanfear were dating and then came loose there and took him away. I mean, they definitely said that's exactly what happened to Demon Dread with Ileana. It's said in the book, it quoted it, that Demon Dread loved Ileana and Luce Theron took her too. So it's definitely.
I'm just like, this is telling me that we're definitely getting Lanfear in season 2.
I
think-
believe
yeah.
that.
Definitely getting
Yeah.
her.
I believe we're getting all the Forsaken season.
Ooh, I think they're gonna slow roll.
When I was rewatching the interview this afternoon, I got to that line, that segment where he was talking and he said all that, and I'm like, was that about season 2?
Mhm.
Because that's the only thing I could think, because it didn't fit season 1 unless she was there, and we just missed it.
Didn't he mention that he enjoyed and he really tried to develop the relationship between Lanfear and Ishamael as they like a friendship?
That's
Yeah, I thought-
Wasn't he talking about that?
I think that's where he was talking about this.
So
I
crazy.
think that Morden, Elon, however you want to call him, Ishmael, I think he was jealous of Lanfear. And I actually got that from the book. Every time he talked about her, he got overly mad. He was very quick to punish her. He got to kill her and bring her back. And he didn't have to kill her, but he did anyway.
Probably because she was his biggest threat.
Yeah, that's true.
He's a
She was
kindergartner.
definitely
He's
his
got a
biggest
crush.
threat.
Mm.
I'll tell you, never try to transcribe something Brandon's saying when he's talking to a camera. You heard what I tried, and I left out all the uhs and ums and ahs, and I still felt like I was saying
Well,
but
we all did an amazing job. I counted everyone's ums and ers. You'll get your report card after the show. Matt, you did great. Just kidding. All right, so we are going to head out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for participating and joining into the chat. We are going to return next week and continue on with our rewatch of episode 7. Brother Dan will be back. Glenn will continue on with us, and we will finish that up. After that, Tavern Talk will dive into some of the most amazing theory discussions you're ever going to hear on the internet. So stick with us. You know where to find us. We are going to say goodnight.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Yes. Jansen, head out. I want these guys to plug their stuff. I know you got to go, huh?
Yes, I do, guys. Love you all. I'll see you
Thanks
guys
for
next
hanging.
week. Absolutely.
see you
All right.
next week, man.
Appreciate it.
Namaste.
Good seeing
All right.
you again, Jansen.
All right. Hey, everyone, gather around. We have a new show, a new channel. I heard about this. It's these two old freaks. They're handsome as AF, but like they talk so beautifully, melodically, and then they make fun of each other. They remind me of those two Muppets who sit on the top.
Ernie?
Yeah. But yes, it is called Non-Terrestrial Half-Life. Who wants to tell us more about your channel?
Well, actually, it comes back to the live chat on this show, the Tuesday night show. I had been toying with the idea of, 1, doing a new YouTube channel that was specifically on books, and 2, I was thinking of rereading stuff that I read the first half of my life. I mentioned that to our friend up there one day in this chat waiting for the show to start, and he said he was looking at rereading books that he had read a long time ago. And it just clicked in my head. Let's take my 2 ideas, merge them. Hey, Bill, you want to do a YouTube show? And so now we've got Non-Terrestrial Half-Life. We are rereading books that we read the first half of our life, and we're going 98 and earlier, and then reviewing them and discussing if they hold up, if we still like them, if it ruined our memory of them, and all that fun stuff right now. Thanks, Ben.
Are there problematic themes that are only relevant 20 years, 30 years ago?
Yeah. Is there attitudes taken about stuff that just doesn't sit well 25, 30 years later? Yeah. And so far, today's video was for Dragons of Autumn Twilight. And we're going to be doing the trilogy, all 3 of the trilogy, and then we're going to be doing Ursula Le Guin's Earthsea series.
Yeah.
Yep, there's the original Earthsea trilogy, which we're going to have Dr. Philip Chase of the channel Philip Chase on to help us talk about.
Oh, awesome. Great job. So
What
everyone,
does Bill think about? Anything you wanted to add, Bill?
Not so much. It's
he's just a pretty
2
face over
nerds
there.
sitting around talking. That's it.
You got
Talking
some,
about books.
yeah, you're getting in the way of the leaf bump. Yeah, let's go, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Village Mattress.
Thank you, Village Mattress.
Yes.
Speaking of which,
Thank you, Sean Sine.
Be the first mean
Sean.
comment.
I'd love to have you on there sometime with us. We'll have to discuss that. Where there's some books that fall into that category for you.
Well,
So,
she's only
I'll be
21
getting
years
a hold of
old,
you.
so I think she's like Twilight would be what she was half her age. Yeah.
Maybe
I've read it, dude. I've read it.
Yeah.
I actually
maybe
read
Percy Jackson. I think
I
Percy
love Percy
Jackson might
Jackson.
be more her age group,
it. I read
as young
that
as
too.
she is. I've never read them. I'd like to try them sometime.
You're up to 15. Yes.
Thank you, Diljit.
Da-na-na-na-na-na.
We are getting a bump.
Yes. All right. More
And
like
Bill's going to be on
121.
our show coming out Tuesday. We're reviewing episode 7 of The Sandman tonight on What the Adaptation. About an hour from now, we're reviewing that. And that will be coming out Tuesday.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Bill, you did great. I can't
Thank you
wait.
for
I'm
having us
so
on.
glad you're making content. Glenn, thanks for getting Bill out of the cave and
Yeah, I
onto the screen. I mean, obviously, he's your ringer. Look at that face.
Yeah.
Look at
I
that
do think I
face.
have a new nickname for him now, though. He's going to be Captain Caveman.
I only look this good for Mistress Dovie.
Oh.
All right. Well, we don't want to get shut down, so let's not go any further with that. Hey, before we go, let's make some. Let's do some business. I'm gonna say an ad, or show you an ad, and then we're gonna end the stream. So, before we go, everyone, remember, run for your lives. This is the way of the leaf.
The Way of the Leaf are proud to be partnering with Tourist Hat Coffee Company. Tourist Hat Coffee Company is a family-owned business with a strong belief in giving back to the community. Tourist Hat Coffee Company is a social purpose business whose mission is to bring people the absolute best in small batch coffee while supporting children at home and around the world. And if you go to touristhatcoffeecompany.com and use the promo code LEAF2022, you'll get 5% off your entire order. We hope Tourist Hat Coffee Company becomes your family's coffee of choice. Remember, a part of each order goes to an amazing charity and helps allow us to continue doing this show each and every week. So go to touristhatcoffeecompany.com and use promo code LEAF2022 and receive 5% off your entire